There is so much going on in the news that at times it's actually very hard to even keep up. I'm sure all of you already know, have already seen the news. It's been a few days that the President of the United States, or the former President of the United States, Donald Trump, had his home in Mar-a-Lago raided by the FBI. From what I have gathered over the last couple days, reading different articles, hearing different news reports, they don't like calling it a raid, although I'm not exactly sure why. Nobody's above the law. I want to start with that. Nobody should be above the law. The law should equally apply to all of us across the board. Why this is so confusing and even damaging is, look, if there was something done, like something egregiously done that deserved a raid, it should happen. Maybe I'm being biased, which is quite possible, but so far I have not seen anything that really warrants raiding the home of a former president of the United States. Now, let me back up by saying I'm not implying that I have to know everything going on in order for something like this to happen, right? Maybe there's something behind the scenes we don't know that they got or they gathered. It's unlikely though. It's highly unlikely. And the fact that it seems like the FBI has been on, the establishment really has been on a continual witch hunt against Donald Trump is kind of crazy. Now, let's be clear. There's no way that you are in business for as long as Donald Trump has been in business without any sort of corruption whatsoever. You got to make that clear. I'm not saying that's impossible, right? And I'm not implying that he's definitely corrupt in some way. If you were in real estate, let's say in the I think he started in the 70s, 80s, maybe before then. You kind of can't really be in real estate, especially in New York State at that time, especially specifically New York City, without somehow getting involved with some shady characters. Let's just put it that way. There were shady characters and some other types of organizations that was really running things, if you catch my drift. So I'm not saying that this man is squeaky clean, nor do I think he is. I could be wrong about that. Maybe he is squeaky clean. He does seem to be a billionaire outsider. He's just always kind of seemed to be that way. But I digress. They have been on a continual witch hunt against Donald Trump even since before he became president. I mean, the man had just got elected and there was talk of impeaching him before anything was even done. You can make the argument maybe they knew something beforehand. I doubt that. We saw everything that happened with the whole Russia collusion scandal, where that led or didn't lead. This is, in my opinion, very dangerous because what it seems like, and I'm not saying it definitely is, but what it seems like, if I'm just looking at this situation and I'm piecing things together loosely, in my mind, I'm going to say, oh, it seems like this is a political hit job. They've been attacking this man from the jump. This, again, is not about whether you like him, don't like him, what he did or didn't do in any specific situation. I'm saying in this instant, when it comes to the FBI and everything we see so far, yo, I'm going to keep it real with you. This seems extremely far-fetched. I'm going to get to this article from timcast.com. The title is, this is written on the 12th, Trump authorizes release of federal warrant used to raid his Mar-a-Lago home. The warrant is expected to be made available to the public Friday, August 12th. I didn't look into it. I think some people have seen the warrant. I didn't really bother going that far just yet. Uh, and again, this is a article by Adrian Norman on timcast.com. The new plot line in the years-long saga between Donald Trump and agents from the Federal Bureau of Investigations is that the former president allegedly possessed classified documents relating to nuclear weapons at his residence in Palm Beach, Florida. Now, here's something else I found out in the course of looking into all of these things. Presidents have what's called, and I'm not going to front with you like I understand the ins and outs of this. They have what's called plenary power when it comes to declassification of documents. So however a president decides he will declassify documents, he can declassify anything he wants, which I didn't know that. It makes sense though. You're the president. So I was like, all right, well, no harm, no foul then. I mean, you could literally say these things are declassified. I'm taking all of this stuff home. I don't know if that's what happens. This is just something, like I said, that I found out in the course of looking into all of this. Reports earlier in the week suggest that a confidential source identified what classified documents Trump held and the location of the documents, sparking a raid on Trump's home at Mar-a-Lago on August 8th. And from what I understand, they went through everything, including his wife's wardrobe or her closet or something like that. I mean, it is what it is. FBI come and they raid your home. They're probably going to ransack the place. And coincidentally, you have a lot of people on the right side of the aisle that are now arguing to defund and even get rid of the IRS. Here's the silver lining. Like, everybody's up in arms about everything that's going on. Yeah, it's crazy. They raided the house of a former president. Should they have done it? Probably not. It's looking like this thing is shaky at best. I'm going to keep it real with you. You're going to have a hard time convincing me that the FBI had a good reason to raid Trump's home, given everything that's happened, given all of the heat that he's got from the establishment and from the feds since he was president until now. Even before he got elected, I would say the year he was campaigning up to now, he's been attacked by the entire political establishment. So you're going to be hard pressed to get me to believe the FBI had a good reason to raid his home. Not only that, look, I grew up in the hood. If it's one thing that people from the hood understand, probably more than most people in the rest of the country, is most law enforcement and the FBI is corrupt. And I know a lot of people don't like hearing that. A lot of people don't want to hear it. But I would say the FBI as an organization is majority corrupt. Maybe I'm wrong. But everything that I've seen over the years tells me that you have some good people that work for these organizations. But for the most part, these dudes are wholly corrupt and they're really not helping any law-abiding citizen at all. Think about the fact that they're focusing all this energy on this, which in my opinion is really nothing, when there's other things going on they could legitimately be investigating and getting to the bottom of. Like Epstein's clients. I'm just saying. The raid ignited a national firestorm, and they got a tweet from Josh Hammer, who says the FBI at this point is undeserving of any benefit of the doubt. We are now 2 years after Kevin Kleinsmith's pled guilty for lying to obtain a FISA warrant against Carter Page. Most recently, the FBI disgraced itself during the Whitmer kidnapping saga, and that was a whole nother one. This is what I was going to say. I kind of got ahead of myself, lost my train of thought. I think the silver lining in all of these things happening, you got the feds attacking Donald Trump. You got the IRS, going after audits and all of this stuff. You got the whole political establishment. If he does happen to get elected again, he may really take into consideration and maybe, if the right gets Republicans win the House and Senate, maybe they'll entertain this thing of getting rid of the FBI. Why do we even have them? Why do we even need them? I've heard the arguments. I'm not one to say abolish the police per se, like wholeheartedly. I'm not sure that that's a good idea. Does there need to be reform? Yeah, I think, in my opinion, all officers of the law in the United States, in my humble opinion, need to have this caveat added to them. If you violate anyone's constitutional rights, and it can be proven in a court of law, you automatically get 2 years in prison, and that's a felony. I believe that should happen, because the problem with law enforcement is not law enforcement itself. Look, my beliefs are going to come out here. I know you're not on this channel for my biblical beliefs, but I am a believer. All men are sinners. Sin is going to come out. That's just the natural course of action, right? So if you get any large law enforcement organization, at some point, the sins are going to abound. There has to be a check against that. And I think a good check against this would be, here's the Constitution. If a person can prove in a court of law you violated their constitutional rights, you get a felony and 2 years in prison, and you're done being law enforcement ever for the rest of your entire life. In my opinion, what that would do, a lot of officers would think twice, and they would take the Constitution more seriously, because in their mind, they would think, man, if I violate somebody's constitutional rights and it is discovered that I actually violated their constitutional rights, oh, this is going to be a problem. I think it would be a good check against that. Josh Hammer goes on to tweet, the sicking of the federal law enforcement apparatus to execute a pre-dawn raid on a top partisan foe is a contemptible act of raw political bloodlust. The Biden regime has taken America to hitherto unprecedented depths of depravity. Now, of course, the White House is saying I don't know if the White House press secretary necessarily answered and said she didn't know anything about it. Peter Doocy asked her a question about it, and I can't remember the exact phrasing of her answer, but she didn't say they didn't know, but she didn't say they did know either. It was definitely one of those political answers. The article goes on to say a caravan of black unmarked SUVs escorted a Ryder truck carrying federal agents who stormed the property, searching an office, a storage area, and even tearing through the former First Lady's bedroom. There was bipartisan support as Americans demanded answers as to why a former president was subject to such a dramatic show of force, and a sharp escalation in tensions over whether he possessed unauthorized materials. And here's what I want to say about that. I think even people who don't like Donald Trump on the left, I think even they understand, if this is a partisan attack, if there wasn't a legitimate reason, as I said, no one is above the law. And I'm not saying a president should be exempt from having being served a search warrant. He's not above the law. But if you're going to do this to a president, it's got to be for a good reason. For this reason only. If it is seen as a political attack and not legitimate, then you can really stoke tensions within the country, and that is not a good thing. You don't want people going to war with each other. You don't want people seeing people of a different belief system as their enemy within a country. Nothing good comes from that. And we look like a banana republic. This is the type of things that is done in countries that don't have stable governments. I believe it was the president of El Salvador, I believe. It was either, I can't remember if it was El Salvador or Israel, one of them. I believe put out a tweet that said, if I did this to one of my political enemies, what would be said of me? Which is true. Now, here's a tweet from Andrew Cuomo, who is no fan of President Trump. And this is why I'm saying I think at this point, even people who have vehement disdain for Donald Trump understand, we have crossed the line, and you better have had a good reason for doing this, because that pendulum and that sword at some point swings the other way. Andrew Cuomo said the DOJ must immediately explain the reason for its raid, and it must be more than a search for inconsequential archives, or it will be viewed as a political tactic and undermine any future credible investigation and legitimacy of January 6 investigations. In my personal opinion, they don't really have anything of any consequence on Trump, honestly. And I think it's optics. Think about it this way. If I have a political opponent like Trump, who I just want to make sure has no grounds and no way of running for office ever, the easiest way to undo any of his momentum is optics. It doesn't even have to be true. This doesn't even have to be legit. All they have to do is optics. If people who don't really pay attention get even the whiff that something deeply and unsettling corrupt is going on with somebody that's running for president, well, they'll stay away from him with a 10-foot pole. Now, of course, people who are paying attention see this for what it is. In my opinion, and this is strictly my opinion, maybe something will come out in the next week and it'll be like, oh, they had a good reason. But I doubt it. This is the same thing that happened with Russia collusion. They kept kicking the can down the road. Something is going to come of it. Nothing came of that. And they stoked people's hatred and they stoked people's fears over nothing. It was all optics. They used it and it worked. It was bad optics for Donald Trump at the time, and it worked because there's so many people who wasn't paying attention. Josh Hawley tweets, the raid by Joe Biden's FBI on the home of a former president who is also Biden's chief political opponent is an unprecedented assault on democratic norms and the rule of law. Biden has taken our republic into dangerous waters. Now, I don't know if Biden had something to do with this personally. Notice I said I don't know that, but I think it's a high probability that he did. Of course, I can't say that for sure, like I was in these rooms. I'm not, obviously. Josh Hawley also tweets, at minimum, Garland must resign or be impeached. The search warrant must be published. Christopher Wray must be removed, and the FBI informed top to bottom. Now, a good friend of mine brought up something, the fact that I believe Christopher Wray was appointed by Donald Trump. I honestly think when Trump was president, and this has nothing to do, I don't think people can separate their like or dislike for him from what you actually see happening. Like if you put your likes or dislikes aside, forget about him and simply look at the things that are happening. This is what you see. You see a man that for whatever reason you believe he ran for president, he did. He was an outsider politically that didn't understand the political establishment, and whatever button Donald Trump pushed, whatever he did, the entire political establishment is against this man. Here's the thing that is baffling to me. Like, if his opponents on the other side of the aisle were paying attention, you really didn't need to go crazy with all of these political attacks There is legitimate reasons you could have attacked Donald Trump and campaigns you could have ran outside of using all of this establishment power against him, because in essence, here's what I see happening. I see people who are probably on the fence, that were probably like, yo, I don't really know what I think about Trump. I don't really like how he's talking. But when you have the whole weight of the entire political establishment and the law enforcement establishment against this one man, it kind of makes a person think, yo, wait, why are y'all coming down on this dude so hard when you got people like Epstein who seem to just walk free and clear? Look, okay, so I'm going to bring something up. The Hillary Clinton email scandal. Now, I was in the military, worked defense contracting for years. Everybody takes what's called a CBT, computer-based training, on handling of classified documents. I can tell you for a fact, if I had one top secret document that left any facility and was found on me, I would be in prison immediately. Soon as it was found, no questions asked, out of here. Hillary Clinton had thousands of classified documents on a private server. There's no way she was unfamiliar with this CPT that all contractors, and I believe all political appointees and politicians, I believe, have to take this CBT. I could be mistaken because, as you know, politicians are always exempt somehow from what regular people have to do, as though being a politician somehow makes you some kind of superhuman. I don't know. Really, I have no idea what's going on there. But at a bare minimum, she was familiar with this CBT and this training. Everybody who's been in the military or done any defense contracting, you know exactly what I'm talking about. She knew there's no push to really do anything towards Hillary Clinton. As a matter of fact, I can't remember, it was Comey. I think it might have been Comey that said, yeah, so she had some classified stuff, but we don't see any intent. Yo, nowhere in the training I took in the dealing of classified materials did it say anything about intent. You do something wrong with this, you going down, period. We're not bothered with worrying about what your intent was. We don't care. You're wrong. But it seems like that was the case and a concern for Hillary Clinton. But all of a sudden with Trump, the thing is, let's say he took some documents and he said, I'm declassifying these and I'm taking them with me. Okay. As I said, I learned that the president of the United States has plenary powers. He can declassify anything he wants. Now, maybe that's not true. I didn't look deeply into it. Maybe I misunderstood, and I'm willing to concede. The point being is, when you look at what Hillary Clinton actually did, this is not hearsay. This is not guesswork. Destroying phones, destroying documents, classified up to top secret documents on a private server. Dog. The fact that she got nothing, not even a slap on her wrist for that, and there seems to be a vehement campaign to find anything on Trump, even the slightest morsel. Yo, this seems like it's all politics. Like, they're not really concerned with justice. They just want their political enemy to go away, which again, that makes me think, what button did Donald Trump push? What did he do that is so terrible these people are against him to this degree? The only conclusion I can come to is he must have done something right if the whole establishment hates him. Okay, further on reading. On August 11th, U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland announced that he personally authorized the raid and that he supported the unsealing and release of the search warrant the FBI used to justify its actions. The release of such documents, while an investigation is ongoing, is highly unusual. However, in a motion filed in federal court on August 11th, the DOJ stated the public's clear and powerful interest in understanding what occurred under these circumstances weighs heavily in favor of unsealing. I'm going to tell you personally what I think happened. I can't prove this, and I always like to state things that are just my personal beliefs. This is just what I think. I don't think that Merrick Garland and anyone at the FBI thought anyone would really care. I think they honestly believed everyone is just so against Trump that they could do this and nobody would bat an eye. And what happened was there was a bunch of people, even people on the left who do not like Trump, that said, wait a minute, buddy. There is something definitely wrong with this. We need some justification. And now I think the pressure is on. Yeah, it's unprecedented. You did not expect anyone to bat an eye. And even people on your side of the aisle are saying, nah, buddy. We're not going for this. Trump late Thursday called for immediate release of the federal warrant that was the basis to the search of Mar-a-Lago. The former president posted on his social media network, Truth Social, not only will I not oppose the release of documents related to the un-American, unwarranted, and unnecessary raid and break-in of my home in Palm Beach, Florida, Mar-a-Lago, I'm going a step further by encouraging the immediate release of those documents, even though they have been drawn up by radical left Democrats and possible future political opponents who have strong and powerful vested interests in attacking me, much as they have done for the last 6 years, which is true. They have. Now, I didn't look before recording this video to see if it was released. If so, I might read it and make another video later on covering what's in the warrant. But I went to Truth Social just to look at what Trump has been saying the last couple of days. If you didn't know, Truth Social, I think, is still just on the iPhone. If you don't have an iPhone, you can actually log in on your web browser. Pretty cool. Okay, so here's a truth, as it's called on Truth Social. I really do. I think I agree with Tim Pool here. I wish they would have went with a different name, but some part of me thinks it's kind of ironic that you have to call it a truth. So in some way, I'm like, I see why y'all went with Truth Social. I think I get it. Okay, Trump Truth. I continue to ask what happened to the 33 million pages of documents taken to Chicago by President Obama. The fake news media refuses to talk about that. They want it canceled. Yeah, I don't know anything about that, so I can't really speak to that. I know in one of his truths, he mentioned something about Hillary Clinton's email, and I wish I would have had it pulled up. And I don't have it. Yeah, I don't have it. But I know he did say something about it, and he's showing this this judge for this case he has in New York. I can't remember exactly what the case is, but I don't think it's criminal. I'm pretty sure it's not criminal. Now, he retruthed, this is pretty hilarious to say that, this image that somebody, I guess, posted on Truth Social. And, so yeah, you got the DOJ, FBI, rhinos. If you don't know what that stands for, Republicans in name only. It's pretty hilarious. IRS, mainstream media, and the Democrats all attacking this one man. Yo, this is what I ask anyone out there who may just completely hate Trump. Not a perfect man, but for some reason, people just completely hate him. And it's not always for good reasons. I've met people who don't like him and they have very legitimate reasons. And I respect that, right? Like, I have something somewhat of I wouldn't say a disdain, but there's certain people in politics that seem to be above the law. They have specific things they've done that I know of, that everyone knows of. You know, stuff is not hidden. And they seem to just get away with it. And that bothers me. That bothers me because you're above the law. That means You have power to just do whatever you want, but then you can persecute everyone else for doing the same thing, and it shouldn't be that way. The law should be equally applied to everyone. But here's the thing. Like I said earlier, the fact that all of these entities are against him, maybe if he gets elected again, he might look at some of these power structures and say, yo, I think some of this stuff probably needs to be undone, like the IRS, which in my opinion is unconstitutional. I pay my taxes, but I'm telling you, I believe wholeheartedly that the IRS is unconstitutional, but I'm trying to, okay, so here it goes. This is what he posted. And, I think this is some stuff to think about. Honestly, it is. It says, since 2015, the FBI propagated the Russia collusion hoax to hurt the Trump administration, manufactured, which is true. That first part is true, verifiable now. Manufactured the Whitmer kidnapping case and blamed it on Trump before the election. This is true, and that is verifiable. The FBI coerced a couple people into, conducting this thing. That's verifiable, right? Helped Biden's presidential campaign by burying the Hunter's illegal activities. Now, I don't know if the FBI specifically buried that. Well, let's say at a bare minimum, there are things they didn't look into. So in some ways, you could say they did bury it. I would say that mass media really buried the story, didn't go anywhere. Misclassified domestic extremism cases to support the Biden narrative. This is true. That is actually true, verifiable. Targeted conservative parents who protested pandemic policies at school boards. That's also true. Placed at least 2 informants at the Capitol on January 6th who participated in a riot. Now, I don't know if that's been verified. I know people bring up Ray Epps, which is confusing. This is a dude who was calling for people to enter the Capitol the day before the riot and the day of the riot. And let me keep it real with you. I'm going to be honest with you about what I think about January 6th. Yo, some people went to the Capitol and rioted. It's nothing beyond that. I think it's some people are trying to make it into this like the most egregious thing ever. Nah, dog, you're not gonna gaslight me into that one. And this is not a matter of support for the people who rioted or bias. It's just I see it for what it is. People went to the Capitol and rioted. End of story. It wasn't really a big deal. Raided Trump's home to find anything they could to prevent him from running in 2024. They did raid Trump's home. And I believe, now this is not verifiable, 100% verifiable at this point, but I believe what is said right there is correct. I believe they raided his home specifically to find anything they could to pin it on Donald Trump to keep him from running in 2024. I'm going to play some audio. Now, this was on the Michael Savage podcast. He is a podcaster that lives in San Francisco, I want to say. He's from New York. I believe he has his doctorate in nutrition or something like that. I think it's something similar. Now, I should have done this beforehand. I'm going to airdrop this to my computer so I can play it and you can hear this audio because this is pretty crazy. So this is Alan Dershowitz. He is a left-wing lawyer, and this is what he had to say about Trump not being able to run. Now, like I said, by his own admission, he's left-wing. He is going to vote against Trump if Trump runs again. He doesn't really like Trump as a president, and he specializes in constitutional law. Let's hear what he has to say.
I hope you're made Attorney General of the United States.
Too old for that, but let's get one more point before I have to go. The people on the left are also saying if he's convicted of mishandling classified or presidential materials, can't run. They're totally wrong. The Constitution provides 4 criteria for running for president. You have to be 35, born in America, You have to have not fought in the Civil War against the Union, a little too late for that. And you have to not have been impeached and convicted with the proviso that you can't run.
Right.
If those 4 criteria are met, Congress can't add additional criteria. It's unconstitutional. And so he can run, and I can vote against him, which I plan to do.
It says, and you have to not have been impeached. He was not impeached, correct? They tried.
No, he was impeached but not convicted. In order to be disqualified, you have to be impeached, convicted, and the Senate has to add on to the impeachment and conviction, and you were disqualified from running for any office again. None of that has occurred with regard to Trump. As far as I know, he was born in Queens. He's 35 years old, and he didn't fight in the Civil War. So I think he can be president. God forbid he should go to jail. He can run from jail. Mayor Curley ran from prison and became the mayor of Boston. There's nothing, once he's qualified to run, no Congress can stop him from running.
You said today in your article in Newsmax.
So there you have it. That dude is a lawyer, specializes in the Constitution. Doesn't mean he's right. Doesn't mean he knows everything, but he's not a fan of Trump. I don't think he had any reason to lie about any of this. I didn't look into everything he said. Suffice it to say this. It doesn't matter what you think about people who you don't like in politics. If you don't like their policies, if you don't like their ideals, if you don't like their ideas. If we get to the point where we're going tit for tat attacking our political opponents, then we are definitely a banana republic, and we're headed for destruction just like any other country that has done this. But I'm optimistic. I may be naively optimistic. I hope I'm not. I don't think I'm naively optimistic, but this is what I think. I think many people on the left and on the right, some people on the left already thought this way, and there's people on the right that are beginning to understand, our law enforcement apparatus is corrupt. And this thing needs to be decentralized, and money needs to be pulled away from this because this is too much. I think a lot of these things might actually produce some good things for the country. They can. Let's put it that way.